James Abel Roberts, or Abe, my great-grandpa, was born December 27th, 1886, which made him 94 years old when I was born. Yet I have a picture of him when I was a baby, on his lap, and if you look at the expression on his face, I'm pretty sure he's thinking, are you sure this is a baby? This kid's big enough to be a 2-year-old. But you can also tell that he loved me. And it's kind of amazing because although I have multiple different pictures with him, I was 7 when he passed away. And I vividly remember him dying, getting the news, being angry with God, literally praying to God, asking him why he took my grandpa away. And after he was gone, I remember my grandpa taking me to his grave and the grave of many other people. And I always wondered why. I wondered why he took me there because those people were gone, they were passed away, and they certainly wouldn't be at the grave. All of that being said, when I saw that this house had gone into foreclosure and was up for sale, something inside me that I can't remotely explain because it's something I have never felt before told me I wanted this house. Because buying this house, starting the remodel, the things that have occurred have changed my belief system. And I've had my belief system for pretty much my entire life. It's changed very little. And in the last 5 weeks, it's changed more than I could have possibly imagined. So the last verse in the last chapter of the last book of the Old Testament, Malachi 4:6, says, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." I would have told you a few weeks ago that I understood this verse, that I knew the meaning of it and how to explain it. Couldn't remotely tell you that now, because I'm learning to understand what it actually means. I'm learning to understand it as I get to know James Abel Roberts. You see, as I read about James Abel, once I knew I was going to get this house, it was funny to me because I had spent hundreds of hours watching YouTube videos, reading books, studying how to be the farmer that I wanted to be. And I laid out my exact vision of the farm I wanted. And as I read about the farm that James Abel Roberts and Carrie Condor had, that's the farm I wanted. They had the animals, the vegetables, the fruit, the berries, the trees. Only thing I'm doing differently is I'm going to add a little bit of modern technology, particularly through my greenhouses. But he literally had the exact farm I wanted, and I'd spent hundreds of hours to figure out that the way I wanted to farm was the way that Abe Roberts did. I continued reading about him, and I got to a talk that was given at his funeral by Tony Stewart, his granddaughter. In it, she shared a scripture, the only scripture she shared in her entire talk. And part of that says that the spirits of those that are righteous are received into a state of happiness, which is called paradise, a state of rest, a state of peace, where they shall rest from all their troubles and from all care and sorrow. As I read that, I started to cry a little because when I was 19 and decided to serve a volunteer mission for my church, the scriptures that she quoted in that talk were the scriptures that were on my plaque. And I started remembering why they were on my plaque. You see, when I was 14, my parents were getting divorced. So many things were happening. Life didn't necessarily seem worth living. So I decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. I'd come up with how, where, and when. And the day before, I came across this scripture, and it had a massive impact on me. And as I sat there, thinking about that time, I realized that I'd heard the scripture before. And our mind tends to remember painful moments more easily, which is why it was so easy to remember how angry I was when my great-grandpa passed away. But it's funny because as I read those words, I remembered the comfort that that scripture had given me and how I'd felt. I realized that through my grandpa's life, he'd inspired his granddaughter to share a scripture that would have a massive impact on his great-grandson in a way that she nor he would probably ever truly understand. Her talk continued, and she wrote the 10 lessons that she wanted people to understand from her grandpa. And if I had to write the 10 lessons I wanted this channel to help us understand about him, they would be the exact same 10. But I didn't remember those from her talk, not those 10 lessons. Those 10 lessons I got from other places. I learned those lessons from people like my Uncle Faye, who when it came time to give a Veterans Day speech in elementary school, lent me his medals, including his Purple Heart, and told me about his $1 million wound that ended up saving him when his platoon was wiped out as they went up a hill on one of the islands in the Pacific. I learned the lessons from my Uncle Rulon coming over for coffee in the morning, watching him and my grandpa talk like they were 50 years younger, watching them turn back into kids or young men as they shared the stories, as they relived those memories that they loved so much. I learned them from my Aunt Jenny. She moved in with my grandpa after my great-grandma Caroline passed away and took care of him. I learned those 10 lessons from his kids. And it's intriguing because as I've got to know him more, I realized that that house truly is haunted, although I made it as a joke initially, and that he truly is attempting to help in this endeavor. It's intriguing because the day before I'm supposed to film this, a car pulled up in the driveway of that house. Lady who got out, I had no idea who she was. She said she had something for me. She pulled out this cane. Now I recognized the cane right away because in all of the pictures of my great-grandpa Abe, this cane is with him. At least all the pictures I remember of when he was older. Because I'd heard the stories of Abe, like this story of his two-seater Model I with a crank start and 1 speed, and how most people believed he didn't know there was a brake in that car because he would take a corner just as fast as he'd take a straightaway. And even as he was driving down the road and Woodruff Sylvester's sheep were blocking the road, he yelled at the car, "Whoa, whoa!" as he drove right into the sheep. Thankfully, he didn't kill any. He hurt a couple, but not bad enough. And they were just fine. I hadn't heard the stories of him brewing malt beer during the Prohibition, like any good libertarian would do. But Abe Roberts' greatest legacy was that he was the type of father to turn his heart to his children, and that he inspired his children to turn their hearts to their father. And that's why he was an incredible blessing for this earth. His legacy comes in helping someone like me understand how to better love, how to, instead of pushing people away, bring them in. When I started Sevierly Delicious Foods, one of my goals was to share the stories of the people who settled in Sevier County because we need it now more than ever. What I didn't truly understand is how much I needed it. The happiness I found in this place, the spirituality I found in this project is amazing. The legacy of James Abel Roberts lives in those that knew him, that love him, or that knew those that loved him.